You are welcome to another edition of Bruno's TV reality show, episode 2, a follow up on the introduction we had the last time where we were talking about passing on business, relationship, and life lessons to the next generation. My name is Bruno Rahima. Today we're going to be talking on education versus schooling. We're going to kind of look at education, we're going to look at schooling, and we want to find out the difference and the similarities, and come up with a conclusion, to find out which one is really very important or which one is not important. What do you understand by education and schooling? What do you understand by education and schooling? What is education? What is schooling? Let us start it from there. Let's start with the definition first. What is education and what is schooling?
So what I think is
You
education.
can talk loud so that we can.
Education is, what you learn. Like you're learning stuff around you. Education can be from anywhere. You don't have to go someplace to get it. You can learn by just observing around you. Schooling, I think, is different. I think schooling is like when you learn from other people. Because in schooling, like you're learning from people that are teaching you. So the difference is that education is like you're doing it by yourself, and you're getting educated by yourself most of the time.
Yeah.
But schooling is when you're being educated by someone else who's teaching you something.
Okay, let's just stop at the introduction first. Now, maybe, Sister, what do you think? What is education and what is schooling?
So education could be considered knowledge acquired from normal basis like um, self-learning apprenticeship, maybe even school, anything really where you gain like intelligence and stuff like that. But you can say that schooling is like mostly all the kind of education you get, but from in school from a teacher. Like just like you're like learning at the pace of the school wants you to learn. But if we want to go in depth, I can say self education and schooling. The self education is when you teach yourself certain skills that you don't get in school, creating yourself like having a broader like sense of the world instead of actually learning something from someone else.
Okay. Now, I think from what I heard from both of you, education is self-schooling. It is a self-learning when you learn on your own or you learn through apprenticeship, right?
Mhm.
Why schooling is something that you gain when you go to an institution. No, in other words, to make it short, schooling is a formal way of learning, while education an informal way of learning. In a nutshell.
Self education.
They say it's an informal way. That's self-education. In schooling, you go to an institution, you go to four walls, to learn. But the education, you don't necessarily have to be in an institution or in a four walls.
So we're basically arguing between self education and formal education.
Do you understand? I say the same thing. Whether you say education, informal or formal, schooling or education, the bottom line is just for us to know the difference between schooling and what
Education.
and education. Now, uh, which one is more important? Which one do you think is more important?
Self-education.
Self-education. What about you, Especially, which one do you think is more important?
I'm more favoring the formal education.
Is it possible for somebody to do the two, to do self-education and the formal education?
Yes.
Well, it could be that someone can do both, but it would be hard because if one person is like going to college already, wants to start a business, and on the other side is also looking at apprenticeships from different that the school doesn't know of, it could kind of like make them confused because the school could
Can
be
you
telling
speak out?
the school could be telling them one thing, and like when he goes outside of school and tries to learn from someone else, they could be telling them another thing. So he's kind of like conflicted, doesn't know what to do.
Okay, like what kind of which type is being practiced in America?
What?
What
So
what type?
formal.
Which type is being? Which one is more
More,
practiced in America?
so something that
Mainly formal education when you go to school. Schooling.
yeah, formal education, because if you have a degree, you get more hired easily by all of these big corporations.
But schooling is, I believe, can be uh uh how do I say this? It can be controversial.
Okay.
Not
And
really
It can,
controversial.
yes,
then
it can.
let me explain. So what do you mean controversial?
For example, they could leave some parts of history out to make themselves look better. Like for example, when I was in school for history, left some parts out about like many events, and that were shown as the U.S. be doing something bad, but the U.S. removed that from the curriculum in teaching, so the new generation wouldn't know what the U.S. did before. And people kept doing this over time, and then many pieces of history that showed U.S. doing these things were lost to time, and now people don't know these things, and people support U.S. But if people that do know these things because they educated themselves, they look through this, they search for it, they learn this,
Mm.
they know more the people that chose to do schooling because the schools teach them what they want them to know, what not all they should know. It's what they want them to know.
Okay. Then another question I want to ask.
Yeah,
Is it okay? So if you have something to say, you can just
yeah.
okay.
The way you said that they suppress some what's it called, stuff out of history
Mm.
classes. Going to school can also like limit your learning base, because like you're gonna know as much as your teacher does. You can't know higher than that. So that's why I favor, like some, I slowly favor self education, because when you go out, you can learn past like what's it called, the school boundaries. You can learn even more about a top. Say you want to learn about World War One. You learn to a certain extent, and you don't, and you want to know if like uh any black people were involved in World War One, and they don't tell you. You can go outside of school, right, and find that information and just learn it yourself.
You done?
Yeah.
Okay, then another question I want to ask, we're actually looking at formal informal education. Like from your, I don't expect you guys to know so much or to go to have done a lot of research, but from the little that you know, from the people that you know, from the celebrities that you know, who do you think is doing more? Who is more successful? People that have formal education or people that have informal education? Okay, people that went to school or people that didn't go to school. Which one do you think that they're doing very well? And if there's any particular one that you know,
Honestly, it's good.
who will start first?
Let me
Let's
go
see.
first.
Yeah.
No, I'm good. No,
No, okay.
I'm good.
Let Little go first. Don't worry. You can also add to Little go first.
School doesn't really matter if you're going to be successful or not. It's what you choose to do. For example, you could drop out of college, you could drop out of high school. You say you don't want to go to school, but if you go through business, if you make your own business, you could be making lots of money. But people who went to high school could be making less money than you, but they went to the same school that you chose not to. People that go to school might also get good jobs, high-paying jobs, than the people that choose to drop out and don't get good jobs and don't make a lot of money. So it depends what you choose to do. If you
Okay.
choose to just drop out of school and do nothing, then of course you're gonna be poor. You're not gonna be the same as people that chose to stay in the school. But if you drop out and you choose to try to make money, you try to like, make a brand, you try to get a job that's high paying, you're most likely gonna you it's not most likely you're gonna get a job that's higher paying than people that went to college and got a degree. But sometimes there's chances like you could get jobs that pay more than people that went to school.
Okay. I'd also like to hear from my sister. What do you think?
So to answer your question, I could give an example. Same like you said about business.
Okay.
So
Can you talk louder?
you see how most people, yeah, you see how most people who go through self education, tend to want to own their own businesses. So they create their own businesses, and before you know it, they create a corporate. Then you have the people who went to school and studied like business, right? When they get out of college, they tend to want to apply to these set of what's it called, corporates, so that they can work under the corporates. They never try to go up, or they never try to go up because they were taught in school like once you get that spot, you're earning that much figures, you have to stay there. But the person who went to had self education always wants to strive and achieve more. So that's why I say when you say who achieves more, it's people with self education. Though it has high risks, they still earn more.
Now, from what both of you have said, there's something that is very clear in because I'm going to be bringing out the one, just to balance the discussion. Uh, whether you have education or schooling, or whether you have formal or informal, it's all about sustainability. The ability to sustain it. Somebody can do informal education or go to school and be successful. You can equally have somebody who didn't have an informal school, a formal school, but is educated or he went through self-learning, can also be successful. So both, we have established the fact that both of them, they are sustainable, but it depends on the choice. I particularly like what it was said when you said that if you drop out of school, you don't do anything, you can be poor. Both of them are sustainable, but it depends on your choice. Now that move takes me to the next question. Why would someone drop out of school to go for informal education? Do you understand? What do you think? Why do people do education rather than go to school? Let's start with this.
So you said, can you repeat the question just one more time?
Okay, why do people prefer? Why do some people choose to go for self-education rather than going for schooling?
Most people who want to go to self education realize that the school system is too, what's it called? They feel like they're restricted with the school system. They want to like explore more. So that's why you see most people in the self education stress. They're more open minded. They want to like see more. The more like charismatic. They want to like see. They want to achieve more things. They have like this like bright head, like really courageous. Have those kind of attributes. But most people who stay in school prefer to have like a structured, like they want everything guided for them, like they want like a guided path just to like graduation and a job. But for for people who want to do self education, they leave because they want to like do stuff themselves. They don't like that confined space.
Okay, Ito, what do you think?
But what?
No, from what the exercise is saying, if you're looking at it from convenience. For some people, they get out of school because it's more convenient for them. Do you understand? Maybe schooling is too cumbersome, it's too difficult, but it's too difficult for them, so they would rather choose something that is more convenient for them. So convenience, it can motivate people or can push people to go to do self education or self learning rather than schooling. So I understand it from that point. I want to take that. But what do you think? What could be the other factor that make people to um, get out from or choose to do self training or education rather than school?
Because they might be independent at heart, because they feel like
Like a sense of self discipline.
Okay.
they feel like they might not want to be in school because they find it hard or challenging, and they feel like they might do better if they just learn by themselves and get a job or make a business by themselves. Depends what the person feels feels. If they, if
There's a particular one that you guys both of you have not mentioned that I'm also looking. Okay, let's see what is it.
Alright, so another thing is like they're leaving school because they want to focus on one thing. You see how in school, like say Mark wants to be a mechanical engineer.
Shift to this one.
Even though he wants to be a mechanical engineer, they're forcing him to learn Spanish and they're forcing him to learn science.
Mm.
And he doesn't want to be part of that, right? So most people are leaving school because they want to focus on that specific field.
Okay.
So if they're not allowed to focus on that specific field in schoolwork, they just tend to leave. That could be also a reason why they're leaving.
Okay, yeah, you have a point there. But what about affordability? What if I cannot afford to school? How is education now? Is it expensive? Is it
Price of
cheap? Is it affordable? The price of education, yeah.
You can't really compare the price of education because there's public schools and also public what's it called, colleges.
Mm.
So if you don't want to go to the really expensive colleges, and also the thing, if you go to the really expensive colleges, you can mainly focus on your pathway. So you can't be like, oh, I'm leaving college because it's not letting me focus because you can leave.
Now, okay, we were talking about affordability. Now, you're looking at education schooling in America. Let's extend it to Africa. There are people who cannot afford to go to school in Africa, for example. Do you understand? So the only option they have is for them to do what? Self-education. But for some people who can afford uh, schooling, you know, there's nothing wrong for them. We're talking about those people in Africa, for example, they cannot afford, so many of them cannot afford to go to school. So the other option they have is for them to go do what? Self-education. But there are some people, they waste a lot of time. They can't afford schooling. They'll be waiting for somebody to sponsor them. They'll be trying to do many jobs to raise money, and in the process, they would have wasted a lot of time, waste of energy. Do you understand? And you get what I'm saying? They would have wasted a lot of time. But it's always better, you find out which one is you can afford. If I can afford schooling, you have somebody to sponsor you, you go to school. But if you don't have somebody to sponsor you, what do? You go and what? Do self education, or you go and do apprentice, or you go and learn something. Now, let's also look at it from what is trending, what is happening. Hmm? If it's always, I'm one of the person that believe that if you get an environment, it's always good for you to look around, study the environment. There's some environment that you go to, you have certificates and all that. You apply for work, you might not get, but there's some environment that you also go to, that you have certificate, and you have master degrees and all that. It works. Now, if you go to an environment where certificates are needed, do you understand? And your self, you went through self education, self training. No matter how you might be very good, but just for the fact that the environment recognizes certificate, you might not be able to get a job. Do you understand what I'm saying? You might not be able to get a job. So it's always good to scan the environment, So what kind of what is profitable here? What are the kind of thing that I can do that I'll be able to be successful. Successful in the sense that be able to make money, be able to have freedom for yourself, and be able to create memorable experiences, not just for yourself, for people around you. Do you understand? We're looking at both sides, So the bottom line, in summary, what we have discussed today, education is good, schooling is good, but there's a big difference between education and schooling. A lot of people always mix it up. They don't really know the difference between education and schooling. Do you understand? Now, education and schooling, based on the discussion that we just had now, they are determined by three things. The first one, which is very important, is the ability to sustain it. If you're going to do schooling, will you be able to sustain it? If you're not, if you know you're not going to, it's not the question of starting; it's the ability to finish. Do you understand? If you know you're not going to be able to sustain it, then you can opt for education. That's self-training, self-learning. You understand? You get what I'm saying? Now, whether you do self-learning or do schooling, if you are serious, if you're a serious-minded person, if you're disciplined, if you're responsible, if you're accountable, and if you're marketable, you can also achieve as much, as somebody who went to school. We've established that. Then then the second factor that we also discuss about is that uh, affordability, you know, can also determine whether you will go for self-training or you go for schooling. If your parents cannot afford education, I mean schooling, you go for what? Education. Do you understand? If you can afford it, then you go for schooling. Then if you can do the both, wow, that's very fantastic. Then the last thing that we talked about, which Esosa also stress on, is on convenience. Do you understand? Convenience. Convenient which means what he's saying that if the school is not convenient, it can if despite the fact that you can afford it and it's sustainable, but if it's not convenient for you, you know, people can also opt out from schooling to go and do education. And you have so many people like that. People like you see people that are successful. Facebook was not is not somebody, it was through education, not really schooling. Michael Jackson, it was through education, not schooling. And you get what I'm saying? There's so many successful people like that because it was more convenient. Now there's something that is even doing in Africa now. You know, people are beginning to do home training for their children. You know, it's something they're just starting. You know, it was
Homeschooling?
homeschooling. It was just because of this COVID that happened. Do you understand? Yeah, people were kind of skeptical sending their children to school, so they asked them. They get this online school where you do it from home and all that. Some people also experimenting on that. You know, so the bottom line, the discussion, our discussion for today, you know that education is good, schooling is good. You know, somebody who went through education, you know,
So,
is self-education, self-learning is equally as good as somebody who went to a formal school, to study. It depends on how disciplined, how marketable, how responsible, how accountable, you are. That will determine how successful you're going to be. We've established that. Do you understand? Then we also talked about affordability and convenience. Do you understand? Those are the three factors that determine whether you go for schooling or you go for education. Both are good. Then that brings me to my story. I went to university. I studied economics. Then I even went ahead as I went further to work in a bank. I was working in the bank. I worked in the financial institution for over 12 years. And in the process, because of there were too much competition, because jobs in my time were a bit scarce, and a lot of employer they were sacking their staff, just because they wanted to save costs. And in the process, they asked me to resign. I had two of my colleagues who were asked to resign, but they died because they were scared. They were afraid that they won't be able to make it. They will not get the job. And all that. So they were scared because they didn't even think about self-learning. They didn't even think about, okay, let me go and pick up something else, to do that can make a business like a social. Let me use a social word, take it corporate. You understand? They were never thinking about that. But they died. They actually died. They died. Do you get what I'm saying? But for me, I went to go and learn how to bath. I went to learn how to bath. To cut the long story short, from barbing, and I became very good in it. And today I have over 100 hairstylists and members working for me. Now it's corporate. Now I'm giving jobs to people. Do you understand? So when I was asked to resign, but now I'm creating jobs for people. You know what I've achieved so far what I've achieved so far, you cannot even compare it to, what I achieved when I was working in the bank. Do you understand? But that does not mean that people who are working in the bank are not successful. Do you understand? But like they say when one road close, another door, another when the one road close, another road opens. Do you understand? But some people they give up easily on themselves. If you're doing something and it's not working for you, you know, they can easily give up. They can just go into depression and all that, and they just believe that maybe something is wrong with them. They have one family problem that is pursuing them. No, if this one is not working for you, you can try something else. Do you understand? The person that discovered electricity, he did it 999 times. It was when he did it 10,000 times, then when he was able to achieve that. And that is the light that everybody, that we are enjoying today. See, failure, is part of life. Do you understand? Most of the people that you see that are very successful today, at one point in their life, they failed. Do you understand? They failed, but they didn't stop there. They just keep doing it, just keep doing it. And before they knew it, wow, they were able to have a breakthrough. So whatever you're doing, if even it's not working out for you, maybe it's time for you to try something else. Do you understand? But if you keep at it, keep doing it, who says that you won't be able to succeed in it? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, that.
So there's really nothing like failure. If it's when you fail, or you fall down and you refuse to get up, that is when you have failed. You can remember when you were growing up, did you just get up and start walking? How many times did you fall before you started walking? Do you understand? If the first attempt, and you fell down and you told yourself, look, I'm not doing it again, by now you still be crawling. You still be crawling on the road. At your age, you will not go you not be running. And be crawling on the floor. But have you learned something today?
Yes, that.
Have you learned something today? Okay, fine. So this is how it's gonna be. We're gonna be talking different, normal discussion and all that. So if somebody come meet you now, be telling you that you're not as well schooled that I am, it doesn't mean that the person will be more successful than you. The people who don't have certificate are doing very well. Do you understand? I don't have a master, I don't have a PhD, but I'm doing very well. But there are some people too have masters who have PhD and they're doing very well. The fact that you have certificate doesn't mean you're better than somebody who doesn't have certificate. Or the fact that somebody who is doing well, making money without certificate, you understand, is better than somebody who has certificate. No. So the issue is this one sustainable for you? Is it affordable for you? Is it convenient for you? Do you understand? So we're stopping here today. Watch out for the next episode.